Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, CW's Outdoors. Today we got a little different video for you guys. Today I kind of wanted to show you and help you guys out during this summertime. Show you some of the baits that I use and that I believe that you can use to catch fish during the summertime and just catch fish period. We're going to start off with topwater, then we'll move on to moving baits, and then some slower baits. So first off, let's start off with topwater. First off, I want to tell you guys about the Whopper Plopper. So this bait right here is the Whopper Plopper 75 in loon color. This bait is a fish catcher. Literally a very easy bait to use. All you have to do, throw out there and reel it back in. It's that simple. It's got this tail back here that spins and displaces water and makes a plopping noise. You can throw this anywhere from shore, around any structure, any rock, laid down trees, anywhere. It does have treble hooks on it, so you want to try to stay away from snags. But if you can find open water around trees and open water around rock, this bait works very, very well. Like I said, it's just a top water. You throw it out, it'll land, you reel it back in, and this tail just sits back there and spins. A very good bait for beginners. But yeah, this is the loon color, the River to Sea Whopper Plopper. Second topwater bait that's very easy to use is any style of popper. This is the 6 cents Splashback 75. Let's have a look at this. So this bait right here is a little popper. It's got this cut mouth around it where when you throw it out in the water, it sits there, and when you want to pop this bait, and it'll pop back and forth, and this popper right here will displace water, shoot water from its mouth. On this bait right here, I have caught my Colorado PB a little over 4 pounds on this exact same bait. Like I've said, this is the 6 cents Splashback 75, a little popper, and bluegill fire. Very good bait, treble hook bait. It's got 6 hooks on it. It's got a feathered hook in the back. Just draws a little bit more attention to the fish when they're up behind it. And this bait's back here. That fish will come up from the back and just look at that tail, and then they'll want to grab it. Poppers are very easy to use. You throw it out, like I said, and literally you just take your rod tip and you just pop your rod tip, and that bait will want to walk and displace water. A very good bait to use, very easy to use for beginners. But yeah, this is the Splashback 75 by 6 cents. So yeah, those are 2 easy baits that I believe that you can go out and catch fish with early in the morning or late at night, or when that sun's starting to go down. You can go throw those 2, and I believe you can go out and catch fish on them. So let's move on to some moving baits that I believe that are good to use. First off, we'll start with some hard baits, and we'll talk about these 2. So what we have here is a Squarebill crankbait. They call it a Squarebill, obviously because this bill right here is square. But yeah, this is a moving bait. These 2 baits right here are the 6 cents Crush 50s by 6 cents. Very, very good baits. Probably one of my favorite baits to throw is a Squarebill crankbait. This bait is a moving bait. You throw it out and it'll want to dive, and it'll sit down there and it'll want to reflect off wood, and it'll want to come off. But this bait excels around rock and wood. You might think that with 6 hooks on it, you might get hung up, which you will sometimes with the Squarebill. But what this bait wants to do is it wants to go down and it wants to reflect that bill off what structure's down there and keep moving. This bait is killer around rock and trees. Very easy bait to use. Literally throw it out there around the trees or the rocks and just have a... What I like to do is I like to burn it. I like to burn this bait really fast and get a reaction strike. So I'll burn it and it'll hit either rock or trees and it'll just reflect off stuff. It looks like an injured bait fish down there, and you catch fish on them. I'm not sure what color these are. At the end of the video, I will leave a link in the description of what baits these are, what colors they are for you guys, and so you guys can go check them out. But yeah, one of my favorite baits to throw, a very easy bait to use, is a Squarebill crankbait. Alright, we got some more moving baits for you guys. Everybody should know about the Chatterbait, and these are Swimjigs. Two of my favorite baits to use any time of the year. So let's take a look at these. Alright, so first off, everybody knows what a Chatterbait is. Well, they should. This right here is a Zman custom Chatterbait. Colors black and blue. Very good bait to use in any type of water. Any time of the year, really, you can throw a Chatterbait. If you could see, it's got this blade up here in the front for when it's coming through and you're reeling it. That blade's up here and it's just chattering away. Very good bait to use around grass lines, opening of weeds. You could use it around rock's pretty good, but the Chatterbait does not do very well in trees. It will get hung up. This blade will want to go, it'll be moving, it'll want to hit a tree, and it'll want to roll over and it'll hook that tree. So it's not very good around trees and laydowns, but very good around grass and rock. So this is the Z-Man custom Chatterbait in black and blue. The trailer that's on here is Swimbait, which we'll talk about here in a little bit. 6-inch Devine Swimbaits. You can pair you can pair a Chatterbait trailer with a crawl trailer, Swimbait trailer, anything, a fluke, any kind of tail back here that'll mimic a bait fish or anything. But yeah, this is the Z-Man custom Chatterbait, and we'll talk about these two. These are Swimjigs. These two right here are 6-inch Devine Swimjigs. I'm not for sure what color these are. This color right here is bluegill fire, and I want to say this color is maybe baby brim. But this is one of my favorite baits to throw in the summertime, is a swim jig. This bait excels in the grass. It excels around rock, around trees, around laydowns. You can pretty much throw this bait anywhere. It also has this weed guard on it right here for when you are reeling it in and it hits a tree or something, it'll go right over that hook, so you won't get hung up so much. I also have a 6-inch Devine Swimbaits back here behind it as a trailer. Swim jigs, like I said, one of my favorites to use. Awesome bait. These 6-inch baits are amazing. The paint schemes on them, everything about these baits I just love. Yeah, swim jigs, an awesome bait. If you guys want to pick up a pair, like I said, I'll leave a link in the description where you guys can go pick some of these up. Alright, let's talk about a paddle tail swim bait. Very easy bait to use. All it mimics is a little bait fish. So let's have a look at these. So here we have a swim bait. All this mimics is just a little bait fish. Very easy to use. Here we got two different colors of the Devine Swimbaits by 6 cents. This color right here is Sexy-Fi Shad. Resembles a shad color. And here we have Bluegill Fire. Represents a bluegill. So you'll have different forage in the lakes that you fish, depending on where you are at in the country. So some places have shad, some places are more bluegill. Some places have both, but it just depends on where you are at in the country. So you want to kind of just, you want to match your bait to what's in your lake. They call it match the hatch is what you want to do. So if you have more bluegill, use a bluegill color. If you have shad, crappie, anything that's a lighter color, go with a little shad color for yourself. I'll show you how to rig one of these up. So here we have a 6 cents Devine Swimbat head. This right here is a screw lock to help that bait stay on better so you can catch more fish. So let's rig one of these up. Easiest way to tell which way it needs to be rigged up, when you tie this bait on, your hook is always up, so it'll be coming across in the water upwards. Your swim bait, your tail, you always want your tail to be down. You don't ever want it to be up. Give it the right action. So I'll show you how to rig one of these up. So I'll show you how to thread one of these on. So what you'll do is you'll come into the bait, and with these, I don't know if you guys can see it, but there's a line right here. And you'll come in where that bait's gonna come out. You'll pop that hook out. And then with these screw locks, all you do is you just screw that bait on. Just keep screwing that bait on until it's to the bottom of that swim bait head. And there, you just rigged up your swim bait. So this bait right here would imitate a bluegill. Simple bait to use. Tie that thing on. You can throw this around grass, rock, laydowns, open water. You can throw a little swim bait like this anywhere. It's very good to catch suspended fish, fish that are on the bottom. Throw it out there. Let it sink all the way to the bottom and just slow roll it and let that thing literally just set on the bottom and just sit there and swim. And those bass will come up and eat it. But yeah, that is the 6 cents Devine Swimbat. So let's talk about these two baits. This right here would be kind of your standard jig, and this bait right here would be a finesse jig. They call it a finesse jig because they trim the skirt right here, and it's a smaller presentation, more compact. So yeah, this is your finesse jig, and this would be your standard type jig. This bait excels really well around rock and laydowns, around laydown trees. Excuse me. This bait excels around your laydowns, around your trees, around rock, around isolated stumps, anything that, say you see a tree out there or something, you would want to use a jig just to throw out there. So what you do with these, you would throw it out, let it sink all the way to the bottom, and literally you could either drag this bait with your rod tip and just keep a tight line and drag it on the bottom. You could hop it. You just hop your rod and this bait will want to shoot up and then lay back down. And this skirt, the skirt material will want to pulse like a crawdad in defense mode. It'll want to sit there. And we'll talk about this trailer here. This is a 6-inch prawn on the hybrid jig. But yeah, bomb that thing out there around the rock or trees. Let it go to the bottom. Either drag it on the bottom or hop it. And this bait will stand up in the water like this. And this trailer back here will want to kick back there like a crawdad or a dying bait fish. Imitate something that's dying or in defense mode. Very good bait to use in the summertime, like I said, around trees, around laydowns, around docks, isolated structure, anything with a standard jig. A finesse jig works very well in colder water. Also when the bite is tough, the finesse jig works very well. You can pair that up with a trailer like this, or I'd have to show you maybe in another video what type of trailers I'd use for a finesse jig. Also has a weed guard on it so it doesn't get snagged in the trees and the laydowns and whatnot. This bait, when you're bringing it over a tree, it'll want to roll sometimes, but that weed guard will catch it and reflect off that tree so you don't get snagged. So it's always nice to have that weed guard on there. But yes, a jig works very well all year round. Summertime, any time of the year you can throw a jig, and I believe you could catch bass on them. The next baits we're going to talk about is some type of creature bait. Here we have the 6-inch prawn and we have the 6-inch stroker crawl. Let's take a better look. 6-inch prawn, 6-inch stroker crawl. Take these out and show you guys. So here we more have a creature bait, something that looks like a crawdad or a bait fish. And here we have the prawn. You can tell the difference. This bait right here is better for thick grass, any kind of vegetation that you can throw into. The stroker crawl would be better around your rock and laydowns and whatnot. The stroker crawl has these flapping appendages on them that sit back here and flap in the water. The finesse jig and the stroker crawl would be a good pair, a good trailer for your finesse jigs with these flapping appendages back here with your finesse jig. But a good way that I like to throw these baits is on a Texas rig. I will show you guys how I rig a Texas rig. So right here we have an EWG. We have an offset hook, and it's offset because of this round bend. It's a round bend offset hook. I like to use these type of hooks. This is a 4/0 EWG offset hook. I like to use these hooks on creature baits like this when I'm Texas rigging. What I also like to do is I like to put a weight. This is, I believe, a 1/4 ounce weight that I like to put on my Texas rigs. So let me show you guys how I rig these up. So when I Texas rig a bait, what I like to do is I like to come into the bait, come in about to barber that hook, and you'll come out that bait and you'll pop out the side of that bait and bring it all the way to the top of that hook. So you'll come in, bring it around, spin it. So here's your bait like this now. So now what you'll want to do is you'll want to look at your bait and see where that hook's going to come out of. So you'll find that sweet spot. What I like to do is I put my thumb there, put my thumb where I want that hook to come out, spin my bait, go to the edge of my thumb, go back into the bait and pop back out. So now that hook's at the top of the bait. So to make this bait weedless, what you'll do is you'll take that hook, push your bait back a little bit, and bring it back into that bait. What they call that is exposing that bait. So that hook is weedless now. So I see how I can run my finger across that hook and I'm not getting snagged up. So this bait right here is totally weedless. To make it this would be weedless, no weight. So you'd bomb it out there, this thing would just slowly fall to the bottom, and most of the time the fish will come in and eat it on the drop. To make this a Texas rig, this is where my weight comes into play. So you'll take your weight, this is a tungsten 1/4 ounce weight. So what you'll do when you first tie this bait on, what you'll want to do is put your weight on. So you'll take your line and you'll slide your line through that weight, bring your line out, then you'll want to tie on your bait, tie your bait on. That weight is already on your line. Once it's tied on, and everything will come together, and this weight will set on top of the bait like so. That is a Texas rig. Texas rig is a very good bait in the summertime. Very good around grass, really good around trees and laydowns. Anything that just looks like it should hold a fish, if you have a Texas rig on, throw that thing out to your structure or to whatever target you're fishing, let it fall to the bottom. Let this bait fall to the bottom and just let it sit there for a minute. Reel up your slack to your line and just pop it. And this bait will set on the bottom and it'll pop up off the bottom and it'll come back down. Pop up, come back down. Most of the time fish will hit it on the fall. That bait will be falling and those fish will want to grab it and eat it on the fall. But Texas rig is a very, very good bait, I believe, for you guys to go out and catch fish on in the summertime. Honestly, you can grab any type of plastic and fish this method, a Texas rig, and catch fish in the summertime. But I like to throw, like I said, I like to throw creature baits on a Texas rig. So this bait right here would be better for like heavy vegetation. It's got a slender body, so it'll come back, it'll go penetrate through things more. And like the stroker crawl, I think would be better around trees and laydowns, where it'll go throw down by that tree and these pinions will sit there and flap. Gives it more action. Slender creature bait around grass lines, anywhere where there's grass, throw a bait that looks like this, little slender body, and throw a creature bait or a crawl bait around rock and trees is a good bait to use around something like that. But yeah, Texas rig creature baits. Alright guys, I have one more bait for you guys to talk about. Probably the easiest bait that you can actually go out there and I believe you can catch fish on. That would be a stick bait. Let's take a better look at these. So this bait right here is probably your best chance of catching a fish in the summertime. This bait is so easy to use. I even think my 4-year-old son can catch a fish on it. So all it is just a stick bait. This right here is a 6-cents Clout 5.4 stick bait. And these right here are fish catching machine. These are the Gary Yamamoto Cincos. Very good bait. These are a little on the higher price Cincos, a lot softer plastic, but these have been around for years and they are a fish catcher. The Cinco. So a Cinco is very good. I like to throw Senkos, you can throw them on casting, but I usually throw them on a spinning reel. It's a lighter bait, so I would tend to use it on a spinning reel than a casting reel. It's a stupid looking bait. All it does is it just looks like a worm. It's a worm. That's all it is. It's a stupid little worm. But it catches fish, no doubt. I believe anybody can go out there and catch a fish on this bait. What I like to use to rig this bait up, right here, I have a 1/0 wacky rig hook. It's a round wacky rig hook. A simple way to rig this bait, I don't know if you guys can see it, but I have this ring around it. It's a wacky ring. All this ring does is it prevents a one fish catch. So you catch a fish, and for the most part on a worm bait, that fish is going to rip this bait apart and you can't use it no more. But with this ring right here, what I could do is I can take my hook, I can rig it. The way you want to rig a wacky rig, this is the head of the bait. As you can see how the bait gets slender from its fatter tip, and then it slenders its body. So this would be your bottom and this would be your top. So what you'll want to do is you'll want to take that wacky rig hook and you'll want the tip of your hook facing the top of your bait. So I'll come through that ring that I have on my wacky rig, and what I'll do, come through the back of it and through the top of that bait, through that wacky rig, and that bait is rigged. That's all it is. You literally take this bait, tie it on, find some structure, find some rock, find some isolated cover, and throw this thing out to it. You let this thing sink, and what these baits will do, how it's wacky rigged like this, that bait will want to shake, as you can see. So a bait, when it hits the water, it wants to shimmy. It'll literally sit there and just shimmy in the water. You throw it out. Once it hits the water, just let it go on slack line. That bait will just sit there and shimmy in the water, and those bass will destroy this thing. Bass love a worm. I can't tell you anything else really. This would be the easiest way to catch bass, is a wacky rigged worm. And also, what we talked about with the creature baits is Texas rigging. You can make these worms weedless. So this is obviously is not weedless with the exposed hook, but we can make them weedless also. So what I have right here is a worm hook. So we can make this worm weedless, so you can throw it in trees and throw it in thick grass and throw it around structure and whatnot, so you don't get hung up as you would with a wacky rig, where you're going to get hung up if you get around something with that exposed hook. So exact same thing, we're going to Texas rig this on a worm hook. So like I said, your slender part of your worm is the bottom, the fatter portion of it is your top. That's where you're going to want to come in at when you're rigging a Texas rig worm. So like I said, we'll come to the barb of the hook, come in about 1/4 of an inch where that worm's at, and we're just going to poke that worm out. And we're going to slide that worm up the hook, bring it all the way through. Where you're going to tie on is right at the top of it. And like I said, you'll find that sweet spot where that hook is going to come out of that worm. So it's got a little egg sacs on these worms. That's usually where you're going to come out of. So find that sweet spot, put your thumb there, find the middle of that worm or where your thumb's at, go through the bait and come back out. So now you'll want to, like I said, you'll expose that bait. You'll push that bait back and push the tip of that worm inside that hook. Now this bait is completely weedless. I can run my finger across there and I'm not going to get snagged up. So this is your Texas rig or your weedless worm. A simple, easy way to catch bass. So you have your wacky rig worms, and you have your Texas rig worms. I believe these baits right here you can go throw around right now any time of the day and catch fish. Alright guys, well I hope that helped you out some on some of the baits that I like to use in the summertime, and some of the baits that I believe that you can go out right now any time of the day, throw some of these baits, and I believe you can catch fish on them. Very easy techniques to use, not very difficult. I think anybody at any age can go out there and catch these fish on any of these baits. But yeah, I hope this helped you guys out. If it did, leave a comment down below. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know what your guys' favorite baits are to throw in the summertime and to catch fish. Once again, thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, leave a comment, and we'll see you on the next one.